Semenjak kamu pergi, desa Kober dan penduduknya juga mulai mengalami banyak gangguan.
Ini, Kak.
Assalamualaikum, Ustadz Qodrat.
At the start of the movie, Qodrat attempts an exorcism on his son, Alif, but the demon becomes violently aggressive. Despite Qodrat's efforts, the demon's piercing scream forces him to retreat and shatter a nearby mirror. It hurls Alif's toy to strike Qodrat, injuring him, and as Qodrat checks his wound, the demon makes Alif levitate and swear, in the name of Shaitan, that Qodrat will suffer for his guilt. The demon then pushes Qodrat, causing him to fly out of the room. Undeterred in his determination to save his son, Qodrat rushes back, only for Alif to momentarily regain control and plead for help before the demon violently twists and breaks his neck. Next, Qodrat is in prison, where a fellow inmate imprisoned for decades reminds him he's the only one granted remission, to which Qodrat says he has nothing left after losing Aziza and Alif, and that it took everything from him. Just then, a prison guard opens the cell door, and before they can make sense of what's happening, the guard wraps a chain around Qodrat's neck and begins to drag him away. The guard throws Qodrat into the bathroom, where Qodrat loses consciousness from the sudden assault. The guard then throws the chain over a pipe and hangs Qodrat, and it's revealed that the guard is possessed by the demon, who tells Qodrat that he warned him he would suffer for the rest of his life. The demon sneers, saying the only way Qodrat will leave this hell is in a body bag. Enraged, Qodrat screams the demon's name, Assuala, and struggles to free himself, but his strength begins to fade. However, just then, more guards arrive and restrain the possessed guard, causing Qodrat to fall to the ground. His inmate urges him to wake up, but it's too late, and Qodrat dies from suffocation. However, Qodrat suddenly awakens in a vast desert, and as he rises to his feet, he notices that his clothes have changed. Confused and disoriented, he begins to wander through the endless sand, and after walking some distance, he sees the sand clearing from the ground, revealing solid earth beneath. Qodrat sits down, reflects on his faith, and gazes up at the sky. He then begins to pray, and the moment his prayer ends, a strong wind begins to blow, and the sun's intensity grows fierce. Suddenly, Qodrat's eyes snap open, and he gets terrified to find himself in a mortuary, realizing he is back to life. Next, Qodrat is seen traveling on a bus after his release from prison, and during the ride, he notices a small girl crying while her mother tries to comfort her. Qodrat senses something unusual and begins quietly reciting prayers, and then asks the driver to stop the bus. As he steps off, he turns to look back inside, and it's revealed that a spirit is sitting right next to the little girl. Qodrat then makes his way to a village, where he comes across a sign stating that the land belongs to an Islamic boarding school. As Qodrat continues walking, he hears the sound of women reciting prayers, accompanied by the agonized screams of a girl coming from a nearby house. Instantly sensing that something is wrong, he pauses, but reminds himself that he has left that part of his life behind. Choosing not to get involved, he quietly turns to walk away, when some of the women notice him as he passes. Next, Tanti thanks her sister, Yasmin, for coming, and Yasmin asks how Jihan is doing, to which Tanti breaks down in tears, telling her that Jihan is getting worse. Yasmin gently urges her to calm down and says, "Besides coming for today's prayers, I need you to repay the debt you owe my late husband, as I haven't been able to pay my children's tuition fees for 3 months, and the farm hasn't yielded any harvest." Tanti replies, "No one's farm in this village is producing crops." And just then, Jihan begins to scream again. When they rush into the other room, Jihan is screaming uncontrollably and violently pushing everyone away. Her father manages to restrain her, while Tanti pleads with her, saying, "Have mercy on your mother." Jihan calms down and then bursts into tears. And just as Tanti begins to believe everything is okay, a chilling smile spreads across Jihan's face. She glances around the room before abruptly shoving her mother aside and slamming her own head on the stall. Slowly, she lifts her blood-covered face and looks at her mother one last time, and then ends her life by smashing her head again with brutal force. Meanwhile, Qodrat visits the boarding school and is confronted by Kobar for trespassing. Just then, Jafar comes outside and is stunned to see Qodrat, and surprised and emotional, he embraces him. He then asks, "When did they let you out?" To which Qodrat replies, "I got a remission." Qodrat then asks, "Why is the school in this condition? And where is Master Roshim?" Jafar explains that after Qodrat left, Master Roshim thrived and was proud of him, even after hearing troubling news about him. But Alif's death 3 years ago, which many believed wasn't accidental, changed everything. Roshim began praying nightly for Qodrat and ignored his health until he suddenly collapsed. Soon after, the village faced strange misfortunes: infested crops, floods, disease, and eerie evil disturbances. Jafar admits, "I don't know if it's linked to Master's illness, but something changed." He asks Qodrat, "What happened?" Saying, "You saved countless lives with your unbelievable gift, and this is what you got in return?" He then asks, "What sin did you commit, that Alif became the victim?" Just then, Kabar enters the house and calls Jafar aside. Later, Yasmin's son, Alif, asks her, "Will you play with me?" But she gently replies, "Go to bed once you're finished." Disappointed, Alif says, "If you don't want to, I'll go play with Dad," then turns and heads toward his room. When Yasmin turns to clear the dishes from the table, she hears Alif talking to someone in his room. Perplexed, she goes to his room to check and asks, "What are you doing?" To which he turns to her and says calmly, "I'm playing with Dad." Yasmin responds, "If you miss Dad, this isn't the way to play." Alif's expression suddenly shifts to anger, but just then, Asha arrives home, and Yasmin turns to her and asks, "Where have you been?" To which Asha replies, "I told you I'd stop by the plantation before coming home." Yasmin tells her you shouldn't be out this late, saying you know how the village is these days. She then sits beside Asha, her tone softening, and says, "Jihan passed away this afternoon." Asha responds, "I told you Jihan was sick, and she needed a doctor, not those spells." To which Yasmin says those are prayers, not spells. Alif asks, "What are spells?" To which Asha walks over to him and asks, "Did you eat?" And when he nods, she says gently, "Go to bed now, as I need to talk to Mom." When Asha returns, Yasmin tells her that Alif had been talking to the wardrobe, claiming he was playing with Dad. Meanwhile, Alif hears someone laughing from inside the wardrobe. Curious, he approaches it just as the door swings open. Outside, Asha tells Yasmin that they shouldn't give in to fear, but Yasmin questions whether her determination to keep going has caused her to forget the past. Asha admits that her actions have broken their family and led to Alif's paralysis. But just then, they hear Alif scream, and rushing to his room, they find him lying unconscious near the wardrobe. The next morning, Asha tells Yasmin that Alif still has a fever. Yasmin sits on the bed beside Alif, and the two apologize to each other for what happened the previous night. Asha then leaves for school, and soon after she does, Alif suddenly sits up and asks, "Where is my wardrobe?" Yasmin tells him that she moved it into storage and that they'll buy a new one later. She then tries to feed him, but he pushes the plate away. Yasmin asks, "Why did you do that?" And then picks up the plate saying, "If you don't want to eat, just say so." That night, while Qodrat is reciting prayers, a sudden gust of wind slams the window shut, causing a photo frame to fall and shatter. Meanwhile, Yasmin asks Asha where Alif is, but Asha says he's not with her. Panicked, they both begin searching for him, and when Yasmin enters the storage room, she hears Alif talking to someone. Cautiously, she steps forward and asks, "What are you doing here?" To which Alif replies, "Dad says, I don't need the others." Yasmin says that's enough, but Alif continues, "As long as I obey, Dad said I can walk again. Yasmin reminds him Dad is dead, to which Alif turns and snaps. Don't talk trash about Dad. He then suddenly lunges at her, causing her to fall in fear. Alif grabs a pair of gardening scissors nearby and tries to attack her, to which Yasmin desperately tries to restrain her, pleading, I'm your mom, and saying Dad is gone. But Alif shouts, shut up, and, with all his strength, manages to wound her with the scissors. Yasmin screams in pain and pushes him away, then rushes out of the room and slams the door shut behind her. Just then, Asha arrives, and Yasmin tells her, watch the door, and don't let him out. Yasmin rushes to the boarding school for help and says she needs to see Jafar urgently. Qodrat tells her he's out at the moment, and she desperately asks, are you an Ustadz? Explaining that her son is possessed and begs him to perform an exorcism. Qodrat apologizes and tells her to return later, but when she says Alif needs help, Qodrat pauses, hearing the name. Meanwhile, the demon possessing Alif manipulates Asha to break the lock and tells her Dad is here. Asha enters the storage room, looking for Alif, while he quietly picks up the broken scissors. He then calls out to her, come to the wardrobe, saying you said you love me. Scared, Asha pleads with him. Come out, let's go home. But he replies, I want to play with Dad. Asha insists he comes out, to which Alif suddenly lunges, saying, then give me back my feet first. And to her shock, Asha finds herself in Alif's room. Confused, she runs out of the room and discovers her mom, dad, and Alif joyfully preparing to celebrate her birthday. Her father turns to her with a smile and says, happy birthday. Overwhelmed, Asha bursts into tears and runs to hug him, and he gently tells her not to cry. Next, her father says, let's cut the cake, so all our prayers and hopes can come true. Asha picks up the knife and slices it into the cake, but it bleeds, and we see that she is cutting her hand, and she suddenly notices that her mother and Alif have vanished. Meanwhile, Yasmin finds Asha and Alif inside the wardrobe, and Qodrat cautiously approaches, gently separating Alif's hand from Asha's. He then places his hand on Alif's head, causing him to collapse. Then, he carefully reaches for the scissors and throws them away, just as Asha collapses too. Yasmin sits at a distance with Asha, gently holding her and telling her to endure the pain. Meanwhile, the possessed Alif begins crawling out of the wardrobe, and Qodrat asks, who are you? The demon picks up the scissors and slowly rises to his feet, saying you're a hypocrite. It says you call on Allah's name, but you have no faith in him. Suddenly, it lunges at Qodrat with the scissors, but Qodrat overpowers him and begins to recite prayers. The demon writhes and struggles, snarling, you are beneath me, reminding hypocrites belong in hell. Unfazed, Qodrat forces him to kneel and asks for its name, to which the demon says, Kadab, and I worship only Shaitan. Breaking free, Kadab attempts to attack Qodrat again, but he dodges and restrains the demon once more. The demon begins to laugh maniacally, prompting Qodrat to resume his prayers with renewed strength, and the demon screams in agony. But then, it tells him to wait, saying soon the stronger ones are coming to destroy Muhammad's people. Unshaken, Qodrat finally expels the demon from Alif's body, causing Alif to vomit and collapse. Later, on his way back to the boarding school, a sudden strong wind begins to blow, and Qodrat encounters the demon, Assuala. Just then, Alif suddenly appears, startling Qodrat, and causing him to stumble and fall. Meanwhile, Yasmin is washing her face when she suddenly realizes it's not water, but blood. Horrified, she sees blood covering her face and screams. But when Asha asks, what's wrong? Yasmin looks in the mirror again and is shocked to see her face completely clean. Suddenly, their house begins to shake, prompting Yasmin and Asha to rush to Alif's room, and they are horrified to see that he is possessed again. Alif suddenly turns and moves toward them, forcing them to flee the room and slam the door shut. Yasmin tells Asha to go find Qodrat, but Alif calls out for her mom, saying it's me. Just then, there's a knock at the door, and a man tells Asha that they have come for Alif. Just as they are about to leave, Qodrat stops the truck and spots Jafar inside. He rushes to the back, searching desperately for Alif, but Jafar's men block his path. Jafar calms him down, saying, let's talk. Qodrat insists he has to save Alif, but Jafar replies, "He's my responsibility now." Qodrat warns that they are dealing with Assuala, a direct descendant of Satan. He reveals that the demon he exorcised from Alif was just one of Assuala's minions and pleads for a proper exorcism. Jafar insists he knows what he's doing, but Qodrat snaps, reminding him the demon killed his son, tried to kill him in prison, and now threatens the village. Jafar coldly replies that this is exactly why he doesn't need his help, saying the boy is Alif Amir, not Alif al-Fathana. He then challenges Qodrat to search his heart and ask, is he doing this for Allah or revenge? The next day, Asha asks Qodrat, why Alif? To which he tells her to seek Allah's forgiveness, warning that this is exactly what Shaitan wants, for them to begin doubting Allah. Meanwhile, Jihan's father is seen with Tanti, and upon spotting Qodrat, he asks him to tell Jafar, my daughter is dead, so there's no one left to exorcise. He adds bitterly that even if Jihan were still alive, and they had still lost their land and plantations, they would have died from starvation anyway, because there's nothing left. Confused, Qodrat asks what he means, and the man accuses him, saying, everyone knows you're using religion for your own greed. Overcome with anger, he lunges at Qodrat, shouting at him to leave and blaming his people for turning the village into a dreadful place. But just then, Asha screams, and it's revealed that Tanti has taken her own life. Later, Jafar's men bring out Alif, and Yasmin and Asha are overjoyed to see him back to normal. Jafar tells Qodrat the exorcism was successful, but Qodrat asks what he got from Yasmin's family, money, or land. Jafar denies it, claiming the villagers gave them as gifts. Qodrat accuses him of withholding help unless he's paid, to which Jafar insists the land and money he asked is for a new school and mosque. But Qodrat says it's all worthless if the people are suffering because of him. As he walks away, Qodrat warns Jafar not to touch Yasmin's land or charge for exorcisms again, reminding him it's their duty and not to disgrace Master Rokim. As Qodrat leaves, Kobar stops him, and Jafar tells him to pack Qodrat's things, saying he's too holy to stay. That night, Yasmin gives Alif a glass of water, saying Jafar prayed over it. As he drinks, Yasmin tells Asha they need to talk, but the lights suddenly go out, and Yasmin says she'll check it and tells Alif to stay with Asha. Yasmin goes to the storage room and tries to start the generator, but it doesn't work, and when she checks it, she discovers it's out of gas. She picks up the lantern and turns to search for fuel, and she cautiously moves forward to inspect the gas can, but suddenly, the lantern goes out. Yasmin quickly relights it, but an unsettling feeling creeps over her. Trying to shake it off, she heads to the generator, but the lantern goes off again. Terrified, she turns around as the creaking sound of the wardrobe's door echoes through the room. With trembling hands, she tries to strike a match, but the sticks fall to the ground. She hurriedly crouches to gather them and manages to light one, but Assuala suddenly appears. She screams and struggles to escape, but the demon overpowers her and enters her body through her mouth. Alif asks, what's taking Mom so long? And just then, they hear a door creak open. Asha tells Alif to wait and quickly rushes out of the room to investigate, where she finds the main door ajar and calls out for her mother. But when she gets no response, so she closes the door. After a while, Yasmin emerges from the darkness and calls out to Asha. Asha turns around and walks toward her, but Yasmin calmly tells her to go to the school and find Jafar. Meanwhile, Qodrat apologizes to Master Roshim, expressing his shame for not being able to do anything for the school. But he is taken aback when Roshim whispers his name. Startled, Qodrat leans in closer, and Roshim murmurs, Jafar and idols. But just then, Kobar interrupts, telling him it's time to leave. Once outside, Qodrat fights off Jafar's men, knocking them to the ground. He then rushes to Jafar's shed, calling out for him. But only then he hears Jafar chanting summoning spells, saying, I worship Satan with all my heart, asking for power to rule the world in return. Qodrat bursts into the secret room, interrupting Jafar's dark ritual. Enraged, he moves forward to attack Jafar and a fierce battle ensues. But despite Qodrat's efforts, Jafar eventually overpowers him, knocking him to the ground. Then, Jafar, coldly smirking, fills a plate with blood and asks Qodrat to drink it and follow him. saying we will worship Assuala, but Qodrat pushes the plate aside, calling him filth. Jafar threatens him to worship Assuala, but Qodrat declares, I worship Allah and no one else, and only in Allah do I seek protection. With fury in his eyes, Jafar lunges at him, but Qodrat skillfully dodges his attacks and strikes back, and after a tense struggle, Qodrat manages to overpower Jafar and knock him down. Just then, Asha enters the room and stands frozen, stunned by the scene before her. Meanwhile, Assuala, possessing Yasmin, has dug Alif's grave and is burying him alive in it. Soon after, Asha arrives with Qodrat, and the demon says, every time, I failed to kill you and overthrow your faith, but not today. It then crouches on the ground and says,
Assalamualaikum, Ustadz Qodrat.
Asha gets terrified seeing her like this, but Qodrat stands firm and asks, where is Alif? To which the demon asks, which Alif? The one whose neck I broke? Or the Alif I just buried alive? In response, Qodrat pulls out his tasbih, preparing to fight the demon, and the demon lunges at him, but he swiftly dodges, making it furious. Qodrat and the demon clash in a violent struggle, but he grabs the creature and recites prayers as it screams in pain. Asha frantically digs into the ground, and suddenly, Qodrat's voice weakens, and the demon begins to laugh cruelly. To Qodrat's shock, it starts loudly reciting Quranic verses, breaking free from his grip. As Qodrat grows weaker, the demon chants louder, then grotesquely licks his face with a long, serpentine tongue. Qodrat pushes the demon away, and then grabs a handful of soil and rubs it on his face while invoking Allah's name. The demon retreats behind a wardrobe, hurling it at Qodrat, and disappears before he can recover. Just then, blood drips onto Qodrat, and the demon leaps at him, but he throws it off with all his might. He then rushes toward it, but the demon grabs his leg, climbing onto his back and attempting to bite him. Qodrat struggles to break free, but the demon's grip is relentless, forcing him to his knees, and says, I will kill all religious men, so no one will pray again. Asha charges at the demon, but it transforms into Yasmin, causing Asha to freeze. But then it screeches, sending Asha flying back. The demon then attempts to bite Qodrat, but he manages to stop it, quickly beginning to recite prayers. Gathering his strength, Qodrat turns to face the demon and says, I will not let you mock Allah's verse. The demon grabs his neck, temporarily silencing him, but Qodrat persists, his voice unwavering, and the demon lifts Qodrat into the air, clinging to him with savage fury. Yet Qodrat does not falter. He continues to recite the prayers, each word an unyielding force against the demon, and after a tense struggle, Qodrat expels it from Yasmin's body, causing both Yasmin and Qodrat to collapse onto the ground. Asha rushes to Yasmin's side, who is still catching her breath, and when Yasmin asks, where is Alif? Asha, overwhelmed with grief, remains silent and bursts into tears. Yasmin begins to crawl, saying, dig him up, prompting Qodrat to spring into action and start digging with frantic urgency. After a while, his hands hit something solid, and he uncovers a face, but his heart sinks in horror as he realizes it's his son, Alif. Alif suddenly opens his eyes, grabbing Qodrat's hand, and the boy stands as Qodrat stumbles back, falling to the ground in disbelief. Alif speaks softly, I knew you'd come for me, but Qodrat is stunned to see him. Alif tells him I'm scared because of the darkness down there, and then asks him to come with me, saying, I don't want to lose you again, and we'll find Mom, and we'll be together. Qodrat hesitates, then slowly reaches out and embraces his son, saying, I love you, and will always miss you. Yasmin and Asha, both trembling, begin to recite prayers aloud, and Qodrat, his eyes filled with both sorrow and resolve, joins them. Alif suddenly pushes Qodrat away, but Qodrat continues reciting the prayers. The demon inside Alif roars in fury. If I can't destroy you, I'll make you lose everything. With unshakable faith, Qodrat places his hand on Alif's forehead and continues the recitations. The demon screams in agony, writhing in pain as Qodrat's prayers build in power. And finally, with a deafening scream, the demon is expelled from Alif's body, and the room is plunged into darkness. 6 months later, the village is flourished with blooming crops and a sense of prosperity. Master Roshim has recovered, and Qodrat prepares to leave, determined to uncover what happened to his wife, Aziza. Roshim reminds him that his journey is part of the gift Allah has given him, but urges him not to forget this place. He then offers Qodrat his old bike for the road ahead, surprising him with the gesture. Now, as Qodrat is leaving the village, Alif calls out to him, prompting him to stop. When Qodrat turns around, Alif attempts to stand and walk, bringing a smile to both Yasmin and Qodrat. Alif then asks his mother, "Qodrat will come back, right?" Qodrat starts his bike and begins his journey, and as he rides away from the village, the movie comes to an end.